You are about to experience an in-depth, awesome review of Toncoin versus Internet Computer Protocol, OpenChat, and Taggr. All of these are extremely relevant because of they're all cryptos and they all have similar ideas behind them, but some are far better than others from based on I'm in crypto 10 years. I've researched tens of thousands of altcoins, and I'll tell you exactly where my money is based on my research. So Toncoin is the largest market cap of these at $18 billion currently. And then you scroll down to Internet Computer Protocol at $4 billion. And then OpenChat or Taggr are much smaller. OpenChat's like 20 million, Taggr's like 1 million. What do these all have in common? All of these are based on like social media messaging kind of application. So Toncoin is a coin that's being used with Telegram, which is how it's got so big. They've onboarded a bunch of people from Telegram. Internet Computer Protocol, by comparison, is the world's first third-generation blockchain doing fully on-chain computation. Internet Computer, as you can see at internetcomputer.org, is an infrastructure that you can build entire applications on, from websites to databases, pictures, videos, NFTs, Bitcoin layer 2, Ethereum layer 2, all on one single chain, and even AI fully on chain, decentralized order book exchanges fully on chain, DAOs fully on chain, Web3 social networks fully on chain. And this fully on chain element is very big in my review in comparison of Toncoin to ICP. And if you haven't heard of OpenChat, OpenChat is like Telegram, but it is built on Internet Computer Protocol. It is fully on chain and has some incredible features. I use it every single day, and I have like 7,000 of the coins, which you can see on jerrybanfield.com. I have links to both my Taggr and my OpenChat. So Taggr is also another fully on-chain application built on ICP with thousands of users. This is a micro cap potential altcoin gem where you've only got 300,000 circulating. The whole market cap is a tiny fraction of Taggr. So if you compare all of these to each other, let's see. First, talk more about Toncoin. It's the biggest market cap, and a lot of people are hyped up about it, but I see some critical problems because Toncoin first started off by, the Telegram team put this out with a native cryptocurrency called Gram, and the SEC sued them and took that down. So what's been problematic since then is that a, quote, independent community of developers and blockchain enthusiasts, which if we go to the Ton Foundation, there's no transparency, or almost no transparency, about who actually is working on this. King Dre Day, nice to see you on Twitch. Steve, you've got Steve, Barbara, and Manuel like as foundation council members. So we have no transparency about who are the actual developers that are building and working on giving this value. Because ultimately, what I see crypto investing comes down to is the team you have that is building and giving your protocol true value and the token true utility. This is where Internet Computer Protocol shines. They have the largest research and development team in blockchain, and I need to compare things because I've done videos just reviewing Toncoin by itself and saying the problems I had with it, but unless you compare it to other things, you can't really tell. That's what's wrong with crypto. So much stuff happens in isolation without comparing. You don't really have perspective because you might just take this for granted in crypto that you're only going to get like 3 names and not have hardly any transparency about who's working on it. But I don't, because I've got 90% of my portfolio is Internet Computer, which is the largest research and development team in blockchain. You can see the huge amount of engineers. The one thing, Dominic Williams, the founder and chief scientist of Definity, which is a lead contributor to Internet Computer Protocol, he said if you want to research an altcoin, what you should do is look at how many engineers are actually building and improving what the protocol itself can do. And this is where you'll find the weakness of almost every single altcoin, is that there's very few engineers. There's very few PhDs, technical, senior engineers, very few people that are coding and making the infrastructure better. And this is exactly when I consider that right now the Toncoin market cap is 4 times bigger than ICP. And yet we have almost no transparency on who's actually building and improving the quality of the protocol. This looks like a project that's primarily marketing at this point, like getting people from Telegram to use this blockchain, which that is great marketing, but marketing doesn't last the test of time. You ultimately need some foundational product that people enjoy or get addicted to. Like, Coca-Cola's lasted because a bunch of people actually drink the sodas. In blockchain, it comes down to what can your technology do. And OpenChat is an example of what the tech can do that Toncoin cannot do. OpenChat, on OpenChat, am able to swap all kinds of different coins directly in the application fully on chain, which if it's not fully on chain, it's not verifiably secure and trustworthy, and stuff always gets hacked. On OpenChat, I'm able to put a gigabyte of data directly on chain. So I don't have to worry about, the Amazon account not getting paid by the developers and going down, or some hacker swapping my NFT picture out for something else. This goes directly on chain and is all secured in the app. And even if you're a free user, you can put 100 megabytes. That's a lot when you're talking on chain. Directly on chain, you can use OpenChat totally for free. And this is what you can build on ICP. Meanwhile, if we look at the actual technology and how Toncoin is operating, what they're doing, if you want to put an NFT, for example, and you can imagine a lot of other data and computation is done it seems the vast majority of the computation and data is hosted on IPFS or on other servers that are not in the blockchain itself. Because if you're directly on the blockchain, like on Internet Computer, like with OpenChat, and this is important if you're using Telegram and then interacting with Ton, the blockchain is just a tiny little thing and almost everything else ends up being centralized. Whereas on OpenChat, on Internet Computer Protocol, you're actually directly on the chain. So you get all the security benefits of crypto built into everything you do, from sending a simple message on OpenChat to, swapping crypto. Whereas this is built on IPFS. So I generally refer to things like this as Web3 theater. Because if you're using Toncoin, you would imagine when they talk about the things they say on the website that are happening with it. So when they're talking about, the open network, a decentralized and open internet created by the community using a technology designed by Telegram. So what you're picturing, most people, when you're thinking about a decentralized and open internet, that's what Internet Computer does for real. Verifiably, you can look at the dashboard. You can see the thousands of transactions a second. You can see the cycles being burned for computation to pay to do transactions on the network. You can see my website is fully on chain. You can see applications like Taggr that have been built by a single developer. One single developer has built this entire application with no marketing budget as a side hustle. The ICP's tech is so good, a single developer built this whole application on chain. That's how powerful the tech is. And that gives it security that Taggr is actually profitable by itself. When you're using IPFS, this is often resolving back to centralized storage like Amazon Web Services because it's so cheap. And IPFS is just being used to kind of obscure exactly which server it goes to. But Amazon has it set up in documentation showing you how to put an IPFS node on Amazon. So what's happening is you've got the development team behind this where you don't have transparency on exactly who's involved in this beyond a council. Which a council, are these people engineers or are they, what is the role of the council? And then you've got IPFS often resolving back to centralized storage like Amazon. So you could potentially, if the Amazon bill's not, or the, back to the, whoever's paying the storage bill, that's paid off chain also. So this means the whole promise that's being set up here of a decentralized and open internet is blockchain theater, because all the important stuff, or a bunch of the important stuff, is off chain. Whatever you're doing besides sending transactions, or you've got a hash for an NFT that has a link to store it off chain, almost everything you're doing besides just sending transactions is off chain. And if it's linked to your Telegram profile, Telegram is filled with bots that are ripping people off and scamming people all over the place in crypto, which is why I deleted my Telegram channel, which is why I use OpenChat, because OpenChat is not filled with bots that are scamming and trying to rip people off. And this means that you could easily, potentially misclick a few places or get tricked by a bot and lose all your Toncoin. This means that in theory, things on Telegram could get hacked, and then you could get your Toncoin drained when you think you're sending a legitimate transaction because the front end was hacked. Because it's not all fully on chain, there's a huge amount of potential problems that come into here, and because it's not on chain, it's making promises that it can't deliver. I believe my dad used to say something like, your mouth's writing checks that your ass can't cash, or something like that. And that's what it's doing. It's making promises. Yes, it can transfer tokens from one chain to another, but that's going to require a bridge, which is then going to bring in more risks, as we've seen bridges get hacked. Thus, and then when it talks about having a DAO and staking and on-chain governance, what we've seen in many other cryptos is that the quote DAO really is a polling mechanism that then the developers have a backdoor to do things to the blockchain to actually execute the real things the DAO votes on. And that's how these chains end up forking a bunch. Like, with these Ethereum upgrades, they've forked the blockchain. And they've, abandoned the original one and, made this new version of it. That's utter simplification. But, that's what happens when you're using something that's not all fully on chain with fully on chain governance. So to me, the fundamentals of the coin, and for the long term, is very weak. Now, in the short term, there's marketing, but, this is also based on Telegram, a centralized application that you have no ownership over just by using it, which by comparison, when you use OpenChat, when you buy the OpenChat token and then you refer your friend and get a diamond membership, which is pretty cheap, like, I don't know, $10, $20 for a lifetime one, maybe 30, and you get a lifetime membership, you can then refer people to OpenChat, and I've earned hundreds of OpenChat just by referring people to join OpenChat who've then become members themselves. And then I hold the OpenChat token. I have thousands of the tokens. So the OpenChat token is a real ownership governance token because it's all fully on chain. So that means the success of OpenChat benefits me. Whereas, you can get a bunch of people to Telegram and Toncoin, and that's you have there's no real decentralization present in that system. Even if Toncoin has, it's proof of stake, you've got some huge addresses on Toncoin, like this Believers Fund, which maybe it's a staking fund, but I clicked on it and it didn't load. You've got over half the supply in these top 4 wallets. So this is extremely problematic, and as big of a market cap as this is, I'd much rather hold OpenChat. This is a $20 or so million market cap that hasn't even been listed on centralized exchanges yet, although that's coming pretty soon. This, to get up to where Toncoin is today, this would be, like 1,000x for this to get up to where Toncoin is today. So I think Toncoin's drastically overvalued. And if you look at the Explorer, they do have a lot of addresses, but this traffic is being funneled from a centralized application. And, a centralized application where people are losing huge amounts of money to crypto, to scams and bots. And I think people who really start to understand crypto are going to keep moving into internet computer organically, and then they're going to end up on OpenChat and or Taggr, where Taggr it's more like Twitter, where it's open and you can post to everybody, whereas OpenChat is more directly like Telegram. But if you want some gains, I just can't see the gains you're going to get holding Toncoin. It's already so big. The fully diluted, it says the fully diluted is 37 billion already on this. So how much, Ethereum is only 10 times bigger than that. Whereas ICP, I think it's easily going to get to where Ethereum is now. And ICP would have to 100x to get to where Ethereum is now. And as I said, just to get to where Toncoin is, not diluted, OpenChat, that'd be 1,000x on OpenChat, and Tagger's only $1.7 million market cap. So that's, they're so tiny that relatively small amounts of money can move bigger. So to me, that's why I have 90% of my portfolio as ICP, because, whether OpenChat or Taggr succeeds individually, ICP, the protocol, is the infrastructure that's prepared to succeed almost regardless of everything. And then I have smaller positions on OpenChat and Taggr because to me, these are delivering for real what Toncoin is trying to make it look like they're delivering with what they're doing. And the staking APY is only 3.9%. On Internet Computer Protocol, the staking APY is 14.9% right now, which, you can do the math. That's 3 times bigger with a smaller market cap, which is absolutely amazing. Taggr actually pays you out. So Taggr is like an ownership token, and because it's fully on chain and the business system is fully on chain, you actually get paid out ICP every week from the profits of the platform itself, and the platform itself is self-sustaining and fully funded on ICP. Now, OpenChat and Taggr, if ICP goes down, they're going to go down with it. So ICP to me is the least risky, but Taggr and OpenChat get more risky, but they're smaller. Whereas Toncoin, you look at them, they're posting about, bringing the future of Ton gaming to life. There is no real Ton gaming. You understand you cannot actually do gaming on the Ton blockchain chain. You can have games that are built on IPFS that are off-chain that then integrate tokens, but that's not real Web3 gaming, because as I've seen playing Gods Unchained, when you play a game that is not actually on the chain and you hold a token that does not give you real voting power, it's just another Web2 game with a token where the company changes the NFTs, they change the rules of the game, where you sit there as a user and you have no real power, just like playing every other game out there that's not anything to do with crypto. So this is the issue I have with, most of crypto right now is decentralization Web3 theater. The technology is not able to actually do everything on chain and therefore to give you a true Web3 experience. And the more people figure this out, the more they're going to dump things like Toncoin, because this is mostly, to me, hype and speculation. And it's mostly marketing, and that wears out. As we've seen, I've called out scams like Hex, which is all marketing, just simply a token. And, people were so pissed off at the time when I said that, but now look pretty accurate, don't I? And the lack of transparency to me on this, as big as it is, now I'll tolerate something like Taggr with a, $1+ million market cap, having an anonymous founder who works part-time on the project because it's so small. OpenChat has a team. You can see exactly who's on the team. And for a big market project, you should have a really impressive team, and the team of engineers, extensively listed on there. And this is just ridiculous. So I've done a thorough comparison of all of these because they all have a lot in common. And this is why I've chosen not to hold Toncoin, because it doesn't look like a very good investment to me. And I am transparent about exactly what I am holding, because the biggest problem I see in crypto YouTube is a lack of transparency. People aren't telling you how much they've got paid to promote cryptos. People aren't telling you which coins they're actually holding and how much of them. So I do. I have 90% ICP, and I have this 5% Taggr, 3% or so OpenChat, and then I have a couple smaller coins on ICP with like a few $100s. So I'm leading by example, and I hope more and more people who create content will do this as well. And I've done a huge amount of research. I've used Taggr for months now. I've used OpenChat now for almost a year. I've been on ICP for more than a year. I've done a lot of research. I've used these myself. I've used Telegram a whole bunch, and I don't see any good reason to use Toncoin. And I don't see that I even want to use Telegram at all going forward because of what I've already said with the bots and stuff. So if you want more Jerry Banfield, go to jerrybanfield.com. You'll see my actual website is hosted on Internet Computer Protocol. I filmed this live on Twitch because one of the viewers was asking me to please compare Toncoin to ICP. And I figured OpenChat and Taggr help make that a better comparison. as well. So if you want to try OpenChat and Taggr for yourself, you can try both of these totally for free. You don't need to buy any of the coins to get started. And you can see exactly what they're doing. And if you want me to read something you've got to say, post on OpenChat or post on Taggr. And tag me on Taggr. That's where I read stuff. If you want the best experience and you got money and you have less time, get on a one-on-one call with me. I also post my videos on X and on all 8 of my YouTube channels. If this comparison was helpful, I'll hope to see you on jerrybanfield.com soon.